Maggie May obviously turned my whole life around. It was about my first sexual encounter, which lasted about 3 seconds.
In the raucous world of British rock and roll, there lived a gravelly-voiced icon whose fierce pride could spark explosive confrontations with fellow musicians.
You made a first-class fool out of me, but I'm as blind as a fool can be.
Rod Stewart, the blonde-manned legend who conquered stages from London pubs to stadium arenas, wasn't merely a charismatic performer who defined rock swagger for generations. He was also a fiercely loyal artist whose working-class values and uncompromising authenticity reportedly clashed violently with numerous contemporaries throughout his storied career. Welcome to another electrifying episode of Offstage Tales, where today we're dissecting the combustible world of Rod Stewart and the 6 musicians who allegedly triggered his legendary temper. The Scottish-born rocker who gave us Maggie May and Do Ya Think I'm Sexy
Recorded Do You Think I'm Sexy, which is probably the most popular song that I've ever recorded.
possessed an old-school honor code and street-smart sensibility that apparently collided with several major acts over the decades. "I've always been a bit of a scrapper," Stewart once admitted to Melody Maker with characteristic bluntness. That scrappy mentality would fuel countless backstage confrontations and public disputes throughout his remarkable journey. From band loyalty betrayals to authenticity debates, Rod's explosive encounters with these artists expose a performer who valued genuine rock spirit above diplomatic relations. These weren't mere professional disagreements, but passionate clashes between different philosophies of what rock music should represent. Prepare for a rollicking exploration of rock's most heated arguments as we count down the musicians who dared cross Rod Stewart's unwavering principles. 6. David Bowie. Coming in at number 6 on our countdown is David Bowie, the chameleon-like innovator whose constant reinventions reportedly irritated Rod Stewart's straightforward rock sensibilities. The tension between these British legends represented a fundamental clash between theatrical experimentation and honest musical expression. The friction reportedly emerged during the early 1970s glam rock explosion, when both artists were navigating London's flamboyant music scene.
Bathtub all full, and Penny was getting very close and doing the contractions and everything, and I said, right, it's time to get in the bath, so I...
According to former Melody Maker journalist Chris Charlesworth, Stewart privately told pub companions that Bowie was a calculated chameleon who changes costumes more often than he changes chord progressions, and that his artistic transformations proved he lacked genuine musical identity. What aggravated Stewart wasn't just Bowie's theatrical approach, but his critical acclaim for what Rod saw as superficial showmanship. While Stewart was delivering emotionally direct rock performances rooted in blues tradition, Bowie was receiving praise for what Stewart reportedly called art gallery exhibitions disguised as rock concerts that prioritize visual gimmicks over actual musical substance. The rivalry intensified when both competed for similar media attention and chart positions throughout the mid-1970s. At a London recording studio encounter, witnesses claim Stewart openly mocked Bowie's latest persona change, reportedly declaring, "At least I know who I am when I wake up every morning, unlike some people who need to check their wardrobe first." 5. Bryan Ferry. At number 5, we have Bryan Ferry and Roxy Music, the sophisticated art rock ensemble whose polished intellectualism reportedly clashed with Rod Stewart's blue-collar rock philosophy. The conflict between these stylish innovators and Stewart's gritty authenticity represented a classic divide between high art pretensions and street-level honesty. The animosity reportedly developed during the mid-1970s when both acts were dominating British music charts with vastly different approaches to rock stardom. According to former Sounds journalist Giovanni Doddomo, Stewart privately complained to drinking buddies that Ferry was a posh boy playing dress-up games with rock music.
I was waiting for the last train back to Waterloo and singing to myself, being very drunk and singing, a song or two.
And that Roxy Music's success proved critics preferred manufactured sophistication over genuine working-class expression. What frustrated Stewart wasn't just Ferry's upper-class background, but his transformation of rock into what Rod saw as academic exercise. While Stewart was channeling raw emotion through traditional rock frameworks, Roxy music was receiving critical adoration for what Stewart reportedly called dinner party music for people who think being clever makes them cool and mistake complexity for actual feeling. Music should connect with ordinary people, not impress university professors, Stewart allegedly told Record Mirror in 1975, without directly naming Ferry, but clearly referencing Roxy music's cerebral reputation. Some bands think using big words in interviews makes their songs more meaningful, but real rock speaks a universal language that doesn't require a bloody dictionary. The tension peaked when both acts toured similar venue circuits throughout Europe. At a backstage gathering in Paris, witnesses claim Stewart refused Ferry's attempt at polite conversation, reportedly muttering, "I don't chat with people who think rock music needs footnotes." Number 4 brings us to Freddie Mercury and Queen, the operatic rock titans whose grandiose theatrical approach reportedly conflicted with Rod Stewart's more down-to-earth performance philosophy. The rivalry between these flamboyant showmen represented a battle over who truly understood how to captivate massive audiences. The discord reportedly began during the mid-1970s, when both acts were establishing themselves as premier live performers with contrasting stage strategies. According to former Circus magazine editor Judith Sims, Stewart privately told roadies that Mercury was an overgrown opera student who thinks bigger, gestures equal better entertainment.
The Queen were renting a house in Beverly Hills, and me and Elton went round to have cocktails and other things.
And that Queen's elaborate productions masked fundamental weaknesses in basic rock songwriting. What irritated Stewart wasn't just Mercury's bombastic style, but the widespread praise for what he viewed as calculated spectacle over spontaneous connection. While Rod was winning audiences through intimate storytelling and genuine charisma, Queen was achieving stadium dominance through what Stewart reportedly called Broadway musical numbers disguised as rock anthems that substitute choreography for authentic emotional communication. Great performers don't need smoke machines and costume changes to reach people's hearts, Stewart allegedly told Cream magazine in 1976, clearly referencing Queen's elaborate stage productions. Some frontmen think louder and flashier automatically means more impressive, but real magic happens when you strip away all the distractions and just connect. The competition intensified when both bands headlined major festivals across Europe and America. At a 1977 backstage area, witnesses claim Stewart watched Queen's soundcheck with visible disdain, reportedly telling his band members, "Look at all that equipment just to play basic rock songs. Whatever happened to plugging in and letting the music do the talking?" 3. Mick Jagger. At number 3, we have Mick Jagger and the Rolling Stones, the legendary blues rock pioneers whose manufactured rebellion reportedly earned Rod Stewart's contempt for betraying authentic rock principles. The rivalry between these British rock giants represented a bitter dispute over who genuinely embodied the spirit of rock and roll. Hostility reportedly originated during the late 1960s, when Stewart was establishing his credentials with the Faces, while the Stones were cementing their dangerous image. According to former Rolling Stone journalist Ben Fong Torres, Stewart privately told band associates that Jagger was a middle-class drama student, pretending to be a street tough, and that the Stones' bad boy reputation was carefully manufactured rather than genuinely earned.
Twickenham, and there was 12 people there.
12 people?
12 people, and Mick's girlfriend was a girl called Chrissy Shrimpton.
What enraged Stewart wasn't just Jagger's privileged background, but his widespread acceptance as rock's ultimate rebel, despite what Rod saw as calculated posturing. While Stewart had genuinely lived the struggling musician lifestyle, the Stones were receiving credit for what he reportedly called boardroom rebellion, designed by marketing executives who understand image better than actual hardship. Real rock rebels don't need publicists to tell them how to be dangerous, Stewart allegedly told Melody Maker in 1971, stopping just short of naming Jagger, but clearly targeting the Stones' media strategy. Some bands hire photographers to capture their spontaneous moments, but authentic rock happens when nobody's watching. The feud escalated when both acts competed for similar touring opportunities throughout the 1970s. At a London club encounter, witnesses claim Stewart openly challenged Jagger's street credibility, reportedly declaring, "At least my swagger comes from actually living rough, not from studying method acting techniques." 2. Robert Plant. Coming in at number 2 is Robert Plant and Led Zeppelin, the mystical hard rock legends whose soaring vocal theatrics reportedly triggered Rod Stewart's competitive fury over who deserved recognition as rock's greatest voice. The rivalry between these vocal powerhouses represented an epic battle for singing supremacy in rock history. The animosity reportedly intensified during the early 1970s, when both singers were being hailed as defining voices of their generation with dramatically different approaches. According to former Kerrang! Writer Jeff Barton, Stewart privately told session musicians that Plant was a fantasy novelist who thinks screaming about Norse mythology makes him profound, and that Led Zeppelin's success proved audiences confused volume with actual vocal skill. What infuriated Stewart wasn't just Plant's operatic style, but the critical positioning of Led Zeppelin as more serious artists than traditional rock acts. While Rod was delivering emotionally honest performances rooted in soul and blues traditions, Plant was receiving acclaim for what Stewart reportedly called Viking cosplay disguised as deep artistry that substitutes mystical nonsense for genuine human experience. The competition reached its peak when both were featured in Greatest Rock Vocalist polls throughout the decade. At a 1975 industry awards ceremony, witnesses claim Stewart deliberately avoided Plant's table, reportedly telling companions, "I don't mingle with people who need mythology books to write love songs." 1. Ronnie Wood. Taking the number 1 spot is the most heartbreaking entry of all. Ronnie Wood, the Faces guitarist whose defection to the Rolling Stones reportedly became Rod Stewart's most personal and devastating betrayal. The conflict between these former bandmates represented the ultimate violation of rock brotherhood and loyalty. The devastating split reportedly began in 1975 when Wood started moonlighting with the Rolling Stones while still officially a Faces member. According to Faces biographer Anthony Noguera, Stewart privately told friends that Wood was a backstabbing opportunist who sold out years of brotherhood for a chance at bigger fame, and that his departure destroyed the most important musical relationship of Rod's career.
Your friendship with him, how did you get to know him?
I don't know. We just got to know each other for many, many years, and
What crushed Stewart wasn't just losing his closest musical partner, but the secretive manner of Wood's departure. While they had built the Faces together from struggling pub rockers into international stars, Ronnie was reportedly negotiating his exit without what Stewart called basic respect for someone who'd been like a brother through every struggle and triumph we'd shared. The betrayal reached its crushing climax when Wood officially joined the Stones, effectively ending the Faces and forcing Stewart into solo career uncertainty. Pete reportedly felt that Ronnie had sacrificed their creative partnership and personal friendship for individual advancement, creating a wound that transcended professional disappointment and became a lifelong lesson about the price of trusting ambitious people in the music business. And there you have it, the 6 musicians who crossed Rod Stewart's fierce loyalty code. Was his working-class honor justified or overly stubborn? Drop your opinions in the comments, hit that like button, and subscribe for more rock drama. Rock and roll passion creates the biggest battles.